right, welcome everyone. This is episode 1 of NightShifters. Can't believe we did it. We have finally got some feedback, and it seems like people want more of us. So
that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
That's
it is
awesome.
a good thing.
It's a
I'm
good thing to
excited.
hear.
Do you guys want to know how many subscribers we have right now?
It doesn't matter about the number because it's quality over quantity.
Hands down.
That people are listening, and we do have them. So we got good feedback at the track.
We're talking NASCAR at night.
Exactly. Night shifters. So we do have a 2023 champion.
Let's go. Let's go.
Ryan Blaney. We did talk about this last week, and I believe the lesson is go with your heart, because that is the first thing that I thought when Rocko asked me who was going to win.
Yep.
And Hendrick did give Blaney some hell trying to win as well. So it wasn't an easy one. We also have 2 other champions, one in Xfinity Series.
My guy.
We got Cole Custer. Yep.
My guy.
Your guy. And we also have Ben Rhodes from the Truck Series. So let's go ahead and start talking about this, because I just want to say that I watched Justice hop over walls to go congratulate Cole Custer.
You have to show him some love.
CJ, I didn't get to see you after the Phoenix race, but congratulations, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
Happy.
Thank you. It's pretty cool to be a part of something like that. You know, you get the Cup championship, that means the world, but get your Xfinity championship too. Now you're kind of sealing the deal. You know, you finally made it. So you got championships on both of those big fronts. So it's good.
I can't even lie. I'm a little bit jelly. I'm a little bit jealous of my boy. You know, I mean, I got an Xfinity championship myself with Chase Elliott, but never won that Cup chip, you know? So, I mean, that's dope that, you know, you have guys in this sport that go 20, 30 years. They never even win a race, much less a championship. And for you to collect 2 of those, those accolades, man, that's pretty darn special, especially for guys like us who didn't know this stuff even existed, right?
Listen, I'm in a special point. I'm in a little unique situation. Being the IT guy,
you think?
I'm on all the teams, right? So I wear all the hats. You know, where you was pitting, you know, you had your crew, your team, right? When the house won, you won, but it wasn't the same as when you did it yourself, right? So,
well, I will say that yes. And as on the athletic side of it, yes, it was not the same when you won. But when I was at Hendrick Motorsports, you know, Mr. Hendrick, he represented one team, one dream very, very well. So when one team won, I mean, everybody from the janitor to the driver, everybody got a trophy, no matter who won. So I mean, that
like that at Haas too.
Yes, that one team, one dream concept is real, because that is the advantage to having multiple entries within the sport as well. Because when you have more than one team, that's more resources you can pull from. Therefore, you're more competitive at the same time. When you can back that up with a championship, it just that's the icing on the cake. So, you know, I know y'all are riding cloud 9 over there.
You have to, man. You know, they don't come often. I mean, look at our Cup season, right? 0 wins as a Cup team, and have your Xfinity guys go out there and dominate the way they did and stay relevant. You know, it goes a long way. It's a lot of mojo in the shop right now.
And Crystal, then let me remind you that those Xfinity guys that won that Xfinity championship, those are guys that pit in the Cup Series too, right, Chris?
Yeah, yep. So we got some guys that do a lot of crossover work. You got some guys that are main cars or house cars, as we call them, on Sundays, and then you have some other teams that they kind of just work for on Sundays. So yeah, they're getting a lot of work in.
Let me shout out those pit crew guys. Look, Shane Papaya, Dakota Ratliff, Chad Edmonds, Matthew Schiller.
Hold
I call him
on,
Big Swim. He's a swimmer.
Man, we call him Big Swim, man. He did swim in college, you know. But and then Matthew Kemp. So you got the 2 Matthews. Yeah, that's your front and rear changes, your carrier, your jackman, and your fueler. Congratulations, guys. What do you know about that crew personally, Chris? I mean, you're around those guys, you know, from the beginning to the end. You saw them in the off season. You saw all the trials and tribulations they had to overcome through personnel changes. Not to mention, I believe that the crew chief, Tony Jonathan, that was his first year as crew chief for that team as well, right? I mean, what was that process like from your perspective?
John Tony stepped up. He took over the role, you know, as crew chief, got those guys together, you know. But he's been around a long time. He was doing it in the Cup Series when I started at Stewart Haas. He was on Tony's crew as a race engineer. So he's no newbie to making calls and being in high stress situations. With the pit crew guys, Shane and those guys are also, man. There's a good group of core guys. They work well together. And it showed on Saturday afternoon when they went out there and dominated pit road. I mean, like we said last week, they didn't make the mistake like some other guys did when it came down to it, So they was, even kill, maintained or gained all day, and they brought that trophy home.
Speaking of which, I'm glad you mentioned that, because feet on the ground at the racetrack, you know how I am about my pit crews.
Yes,
and
sir.
I broke down that race. And out of the 4 pit stops that I broke down, all of them, 14.6, 14.3, 14.2, and 14.1, they maintained or gained every single time. And mind you, the 3rd pit stop that they made, it was with 62 laps to go. It was a 14.2. And each time that they pit, the 00 made no adjustments. And that shows you right there that not only did they perform well during the race, they brought a car well prepared for that race, to the fact where you're not wrenching on that car constantly during the race. And the reason why that's important, especially when you're running for a championship, when you add a step, which is me making adjustments compared to anybody who is not making adjustments, you will lose positions, no matter if everything is flawless or not. So at the end of the day, the first 3 stops, which was at the end of stage 1, 2, and with 62 to go, no adjustments were made. And on that final money stop, where that unexpected caution came out, it was a 14.1 as well, maintained the entire time. And I wonder, this is going to come into play later on in the Cup Series race. Not only did they perform well during the race, they qualified well and was able to secure what I call a cheat code of a pit box in box number 6 at Phoenix. It has been well known as by all the crew chiefs. Chad Knaus was the one who exposed it, to my knowledge, the first. But the timing lines in pit box 1, when you won the pole, has been known to be very slippery, and you've been known to spin your tires in that box at the same time. Phoenix is uniquely, the entire pit road is positioned on a curve. And with the timing lines and with that curve, the curvature of that racetrack, the car can come into pit box number 6 directly and leave. It's almost a bit of a cheat code, for the simple fact that you can have a slower pit stop and still maintain or gain in that box, and you don't have to worry about spinning your tires, potentially like the pole sitter did, Al Geyer, when he tried to get out of his box in the number 1 pit box. So that's a little tidbit that is known around the way. When you race at Phoenix, you might not necessarily want to get the number 1 pit box, but box number 6 has produced a lot of winners. And we'll see, as we talk about the Cup race, we'll see who had the number 6 box in the Cup race too, and had an awesome pit stop, if that makes sense. I'm just giving you a little foreshadowing there. And
that's very accurate too. What you're talking about. All right. Well, we will get to the Cup Series. I know that's going to be a highly anticipated talk, but let's keep it going. Let's stick with Stewart-Haas for right now. Going through your weekend, Chris, was it bittersweet knowing that both Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola were leaving?
Yeah, that was a big pill to swallow. I mean, all year that was happening, especially with Kevin. I mean, he's been great for the organization. He's come in and he's won a ton of races. We got a championship with him in 2014, and he's just been a showman the whole time he's been there. He led by example. He's got the closer nickname for a reason. Everybody in the shop leaned on him. Everybody in the shop respected him, and he just brought that competitive edge to the shop and kept us all alive. With Eric leaving, he's a stand-up guy too. He was a good guy to work around. He was one of the good drivers that I've had in my stable, if you will, to be around. And it's a privilege to work with those guys and build those relationships and see their success and meet their families and watch their kids grow up. So it's more than just watching them go down the racetrack. You build those bonds, and it's for a lifetime.
Chris, you got any funny story or any memorable moments from each one of those drivers a regular person might not know about, from the shop, or anything that maybe makes you laugh a little bit?
Well, all those guys are their own personalities, right? So Eric's a baseball guy. We talk baseball a lot. Kevin is Kevin, right? He's just his own guy. He's who he is, right? You get a little conversation with a smirk, and he's on his way.
Describe each one as a cartoon character.
Oh man!
Right? How about that?
That'd be episode 2 for cartoon.
We're not gonna do it now.
If I was to do Eric Amarola as a cartoon character, I'm
Oh
doing
my gosh.
I'm doing a big pork tenderloin, because I think of Smithfield the whole time.
Hey, that's a
I
good
think of a
analogy
big
there.
turkey or something. I think of something that I can roast on the grill. And when I think of Kevin Harvick, if I would compare him, I think of him as the mascot for what is the pizza? The Hunt Brothers Pizza.
Hunt Brothers.
Hunt Brothers Pizza. He
Yeah.
he represented that sponsor well. Because
For a
Hunt
long
Brothers,
time.
that was only gas stations, and you only thought of major chain Pizza Hut, companies until you saw Kevin put that thing in Victory Lane a few times.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
rock the
lie.
pizza.
Kind of always wanted to know what a Hunt Brothers pizza tastes like, but then as soon as somebody said it's gas station pizza, I was a little weary.
I don't sleep
Don't
now.
knock it till you try
I
it.
know, but
Yeah.
I hear it's actually decent. We just don't. I haven't seen them over here on the West Coast. Only
Yeah,
place
it's
I've
decent.
seen it is Tennessee.
Yep.
No,
What
it's
were you
a
gonna say,
decent
Chris?
pie. I said it's a decent pie. It's
Oh,
a good
okay.
one. Yeah.
So, did Phoenix meet your expectations for the race overall weekend? I
Listen.
have to say it did reach my expectations. I know in the last time that we all met, I was saying that I wanted to see a little more action out of the championship drivers. And I feel like I got that from Ryan Blaney and Ross Chastain. Of course, we'll get to that. We also saw a really good race from the Xfinity Series, which kind of blew us out of the water after recovering from the horrendous Truck Series the night before. So
I would agree. I would agree. The truck race was long. The cautions at the end, the young guys getting in their emotions. And
Chris, we know this though, right? We knew this was going to happen. And let me remind you, this is a developmental series for a reason, Chris. And no matter how elated we become with that series, how much we like it as racers and insiders, because the shorter races, the more excited. Those guys are still learning their way. At the same time, it is a developmental series, a stepping a ladder to the Cup Series, correct? So you're going to see that. I'm not surprised that happened.
You're right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. It is a stepping stone, right? It is that developmental phase. That's where you get your next young guns, your next superstars. They all, develop out of there, and then go to the next series up, and the Xfinity Series, and then land that Cup ride. So I agree with you 100%. You have to expect that coming out of the Truck Series.
Yep.
But still, the 10 p.m. start for the East Coasters, I think.
And that was crazy. That was crazy. That's 10 p.m. start. I mean, the race is going to end by the time most bars close, So, I mean.
So is it worth it to go on that late?
No, that was a shot in the foot. That was a shot in the foot.
I don't think it was worth it, but then you got to think of why was it? Why did that happen? At the end of the day, football is starting in right now. I don't agree with it. I can maybe understand it at the same time. Now, the race was lit. It was exciting. It did come at night. The racing purists might not like that race, because of the cautions. But somebody who does not understand racing and just saw the mayhem, the drama, all the carnage at the end, they might be like, oh, this is kind of cool, at the same time. So, I mean, you got to keep that in mind. But, as somebody who really, who really respects the ideal of what racing clean is, and about, actually meticulously working your way through the field and not just wrecking somebody. Yeah, I mean, that could be a bit clownish. I feel that.
It's interesting because I have heard things where people are saying that, the Truck Series should not be considered a seeding series.
No,
since it's traveling with the other, like with Xfinity and Cup, that it should be considered like top tier as well.
No, I mean, I started in the Truck Series, right? So that's a stepping stone for crewmen too, not only drivers, right? So I learned my lessons.
Crew chiefs,
right? I learned my lessons on the Truck Series, So it's needed to create, people to come up and replace those guys that are retiring.
You have to learn how to do it the right way in the Truck Series. Think of it strategically as a human performance level. These Cup races are very, very long, and there's a lot of pressure put on doing things correctly. So you just don't start off at the top of the game doing that correctly. You have to learn through a particular avenue, and that is the ARCA. During my time, it was the Hooters Pro Cup ARCA Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and Cup Series. And the more that you worked those races, the more that you became involved, those were the more times that you experienced new and different things.
Oh my God.
Good thing
Trouble.
Hey, there's an earthquake out here. Whoa. Hey, well, don't worry about the plant. But long story
Couldn't handle
short,
your shoe game.
but that's where you cut your teeth as an athlete, and when you're performing on a human performance level, that's where you have to get your mistakes out, because there's no tolerance for that at the highest level. You know, when you make mistakes as far as not leaving a bolt tight, not checking a checklist, or having a tire loose, or not getting the jack up high enough, you know, that's not tolerated at the upper level. So the only way to get your skill set where it needs to be is through the lower levels, and that goes for drivers, personnel, and crew members all across the board, you know. And without that series, there, you know, it would be not as smooth and wouldn't run as effectively as it does now, especially at the top level of our sport.
Well, after seeing that, I don't know if I mean, talking about Carson Hocevar, is it kind of bad to say that maybe he's not ready for the Cup Series, even though he's going to be in it next season? I mean, he's already started there, and honestly, I think he's been doing okay.
Yeah, his few races that he filled in there, I think he did okay. Well, that's what, 3 or 4 races. I mean, it's 38 of them, right? So let's see.
And then that's what happened. You know, he did that in the Truck Series. He reacted the way he did. You know, as a pit crew member, put it this way: as a pit crew member, when I see my driver strap up, you know, I'm giving my all. I'm giving 100%. And yeah, you might make a mistake in the heat of the battle, but as long as it wasn't something that wasn't in a competitive aspect, you know, you got to get over that and move on at the end of the day, because you're not just driving for yourself. You're driving for the crew members who are putting their lives on the line, the crew chiefs and the mechanics who are building that race car to see it perform at the highest level. And, you know, maybe that was a learning experience that needed to happen in the Truck Series, where he learned that lesson. He saw how he reacted, and maybe if he's put in that position again, he'll make another decision. And that, I think that was necessary. He only has 9 Cup starts and out of those 9 Cup starts, 3 DNFs. I mean, like I said, you know, he has a bright future. Everyone really likes the upside to him, so he should be allowed to learn, you know, and I think that's what he's doing on the fly. The biggest thing is when you're in the spotlight, you know, everybody's watching you, so your margin for error is a lot less. So, I mean, I take it for what it is. I don't agree with how he handled it, because if I was a crew member, I want to see my driver race to the end, not if he makes a mistake or not. At the same time, let's just see how he handles it the next time. And, you know, at the end of the day, we all learn from our mistakes, you know, and I'm sure his team and his crew chief and whatever, you know, hindsight's 2020. When you look back at it, you know, you would make decisions differently, but I'm confident that he'll handle it differently moving forward.
Well, we know that Rhodes was second fastest time. Congratulations to him for being he's got 2 championships on his belt now. And he gave us quite the post-race interview in the media center. I loved it. I wish I could go and, you know, if I've had a great night at work, go to my bosses and pour beer down their backs too.
Rhodes gets lit, CJ, doesn't it? I mean, he doesn't play around in that victory lane, you know.
No, listen. You gotta absorb them all, and you gotta love them all, and you gotta treat everyone like it's your last, because you never know when the next time you're gonna go back. So, hats off to him.
I think it's more effective because, you know, that's a grown man with 2 championships. You know, past 25 still looks like he's 11-year-old when he's drinking beer in victory lane. So I think that's where the disconnect happens, because he gets loose with it. And at the same time, everyone who knows Ben Rhodes, you know, he's just straight up truck guy, but straight up nice guy. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the world who exists who would say anything bad about Ben Rhodes who have met him. You know, just an overall great energy. And, you know, at the end of the day, you don't have to have the fastest truck like Corey Heim did. Sometimes you just have to be in the right position to win. And, you know, I was always told, you know, when you had a chance to win the race, you know, it's not about being first or leading all the laps. It's just being in position. You can only win this race, any race, if you're in the top 5 when it matters, you know. And at the end of the day, you know, Ben Rhodes was in the top 5 when it matters. And that's what put him in position to race when the immature guys lost their cool, and he was there to capitalize. I think we call that to our new race fans. He was in the catbird seat.
The catbird seat he was.
The catbird seat. That's a NASCAR terminology for y'all. The catbird seat.
I didn't know that one.
See, put you up on game right there. Dion.
Trust me, I'm already learning so much just from listening to you guys. All right. So are you guys ready to talk about Cup?
Let's go.
Do you think you've exhausted yourselves with trucks and Xfinity?
Listen, we're ready.
Hey, Chris, before you even go to Cup, there was a time, and it might be before my time. This is where we need a fact checker, but Cup used to be called the Ford. It was a Ford-sponsored race where the manufacturer Ford was the sponsor of the race for a long time, and they dominated not only at Homestead, Miami, but at Phoenix.
Well, I remember the Ford deal being in Phoenix for the last one, the Ford EcoBoost or something. I think.
Yeah. So, Ford is not a stranger to success.
No, and they also swept the weekend, didn't they?
And it swept the championships.
They
had a Ford at every level of the championship. And this is the same Ford company, especially in Cup, that was complaining about their bodies, and they weren't as fast as the Chevys and the Toyotas, and they end up the champ. So how ironic is that?
Listen, as a Ford guy, it was a struggle.
It was a struggle, but hey, it was good to see that. It was good to see that happen. At the same time, I wasn't really surprised. I remember how Joey Logano dominated that race at Phoenix the year prior. So his teammate Ryan Blaney, and he's coming off of winning races toward the end of the season and in the playoffs. You had William Byron, 6 wins during the year. He was your leader as far as race winners. But at the same time, he had a fast car. He got the pole. His race prior, it was a struggle to get in. That's not entering with a lot of momentum, if that makes sense. Ryan Blaney winning at the same time. And
he had all the mojo.
He had all of the mojo, but let's back it up to qualifying if we can do this. Okay?
Yes. Yeah. I know this is going to be your favorite part.
We have to back this up to qualifying, because when it comes to winning the championship, you just don't do it race day. Chris, you know this. It's about practice. It's about qualifying. We don't have a lot of practice like we used to have. So it's about qualifying so you can get that pit stall position. Right. And during that race, during the start of the race, feet on the ground, I told them Kyle Larson in pit box 6 had the cheat code, because he picked pit box 6, the same pit box that Cole Custer picked when he won the championship. And Kyle Larson, he won the money stop, the stop that mattered at all, when he was going against the 24, Ryan Blaney, and himself from that pit box, but did not win the race simply because Ryan Blaney drove the shit out of that car. Ryan Blaney had the faster car, and he overcame the deficit that he caused from his pit crew. And that reminds me the most. I got to go back in time, Chris. I had a driver by the name of Mark Martin. Okay. And Mark Martin was OG. He was great. He was the man. When he came to Hendrick, he came there as a 50-year-old man, won 5 races, would have finished second in the championship, would have won the championship if they didn't change the rule to double file restarts toward the tail end of the race. That's the only thing that kept him from winning the championship. One thing we had to learn about Mark Martin as a pit crew member, Mark Martin wasn't the shortest guy. This was my opinion. And forgive me if I'm wrong, Mark, but he wasn't the tallest guy. So when Mark Martin pitted in the pit box, he stopped a little short. He never came in hard. Long story short, it didn't matter how fast your pit stop was. You're going to lose 3 or 4 pit positions in pit road, because Mark was not good at coming in and off of the pit road. He was not the best. But when he got out there on the racetrack, he made sure he made up every single one of those positions. His 5'6" body would get on that car, barely seen over the steering wheel. He would make up those positions before the first or 2 laps. So that's the one thing that you can contend with that makes you compromise a little bit with that's going on. At the end of the day, Ryan Blaney was in that position, and that's what he did. Does that make sense, Chris? Does that take you back in the day a little bit from when you were over the wall?
Yes. I had some drivers that were not hard in or hard out of the pit stalls, and you knew you had to be solid, although you're going to lose a couple spots on pit road just off a timing line. So, yeah, I agree 100%. Mark Martin filled in for Stuart Haas when Tony had his accidents there. I think it was with the leg, and he was stellar, man. End of his career, he came in and filled in for us, and super guy. So you're right, all 5'6", but the man had a heart, big heart, man. He had a heart like a giant out there on the racetrack.
I'm not talking. I'm not talking ish about Mark Martin at all.
No, no, no.
But what I will do is break down the actual time because I watched this race. I broke it down. Ryan Blaney's pit stop was a 9.87 seconds. Kyle Larson's pit stop was a 9.91. That was only separated by 400ths of a second. I didn't say 4/10ths of a second. I didn't say 4 seconds. I said their pit stop was separated by 400ths of a second. So that's not where the time was gained in. Now let's break down the rolling time. And the rolling time is considered your entrance and your exit to pit road. Larson, his rolling time on pit road was 34.06. Ryan Blaney, 35.24. Over 1 second rolling time difference. Not to mention in the Xfinity race on that final money stop, when you come down on a yellow flag pit stop, the first thing that who was it? Oh my gosh, it just left me. It wasn't Cole Custer. It was one of the other championship for Junior Motorsports. When you come down, he left too large of a gap from the other drivers on pit road. That is a rookie mistake. You have to get right on the nose, on the tail of the car when you're coming down pit road to give your pit crew an opportunity to compete when you're doing a pit stop. If the gap is too long and too wide, you have no chance.
Sam Mayer?
Sam Mayer. That's the one who did it. Thank you, Crystal. But Sam left his gap. Now, that's a rookie mistake. So that just shows you the impact that it has on a pit stop. At the end of the day, what you see is Kyle Larson beats Ryan Blaney. Mayer doesn't gain on pit road. The pit crew didn't do their job. But what we need to do a better job of is taking in for account that not all drivers are created equal. Some are just better than others at being very aggressive, of coming in and out of pit road, rolling into their pit box. And when you have pit road speeding time, yes, if pit road is 35 miles an hour, that means you have 39.9 miles an hour. You have 5 miles over. So I want 4.9 miles to the T down pit road because we live in a game of tenths of a second. Every tenth, every second, every hundredth of a second matters, especially when it comes to gaining positions on pit road, when it's so hard to acquire it on the racetrack. So at the end of the day, Blaney's crew did everything that they could. Kyle Larson's did exactly what they were supposed to do, just like what they did the year previous when they won the championship on the money stop. They did this. They put their driver in position just like they did on that championship run. The only difference was Blaney had the better car. He maximized it. He capitalized on it. And he wheeled that car back into the front after he was the one who lost it on pit road.
Yeah, that was actually incredible to see. Just given our talks before the race, everybody kind of knew that it would be, the final pit stop that would determine the win. And It turns out that we thought that was going to happen when we watched that money stop. I mean, Cliff Daniels fist bumping everybody. I think they thought they had it. And then miraculously, we watched Ryan Blaney win. And honestly, I could not have been happier to see that ending. Not necessarily because he won, but just how it all unfolded.
It was a good race. It was a good race there. Those championship 4 ran hard. C. Bell had that crash early, took him out. But last 3,
he had a mechanical issue, wasn't it?
Still, he was out.
He was out early. It was out early. I mean, the cup race had you guessing the entire time. Especially it was sad to see Christopher Bell's when his rotor exploded, brake rotor exploded. But just even at the start of the race, seeing where they were paired at, you had the 20 car and Blaney pitted towards the tail end. I mean, the front entrance of pit road towards the pit stalls 41. And then you had Larson and Byron towards the front of pit road in pit box 1 and pit box 6. So, it was cool the way the storyline was going to set up if all 4 of those would have still been involved, because you basically had the 20 and the 12 on the back end of pit road, and they all had openings in front of them. So it would have been perfect opportunity to see some awesome, unadulterated, perfect pit stops, But at the end of the day, I liked what I saw. I kept you guessing. It created the drama. And I think even if you aren't an experienced race fan and you caught the tail end of that and you even just saw what was going on, you you were interested, and it was a cool thing to watch. You know,
It definitely kept your attention.
Oh yeah, my butt cheeks were clenched. I was hitting Adam in the media center. I was cheering, which you don't normally see me do because I'm a media member. So I try to just kind of keep it calm. But I was like really excited to see what was going on the track.
And how perfect was the weather, Crystal? How perfect was the weather? How perfect was the weather for that Phoenix race?
Ooh, it was great. But my problem was it was just a little too hot.
What? Oh, yeah.
Just a little too hot. At the beginning, I was standing out there ready
to hear that, Chris?
Driver intros and everything. And mind you, I had to be out there for Diplo because I told you I didn't want to miss Diplo. But I went out there. Yeah. It was perfect. Especially like once later, like once the checkered flag flew, the weather was down to perfect temperature. And I mean, the sunset was beautiful. I think Phoenix is probably rounding out to be one of my favorite tracks, if not my favorite.
It's a very, very cool venue.
Latasha does her thing out there, you know. Yeah.
Very proud of her in her first year.
She does a damn thing out there.
So let's talk about our race winner, Ross Chastain. I know some people are a little disappointed that they didn't get to see him do his burnout on TV because of everything that's going on with the championship and the champion winner. Did I even say that right? Championship winner. I mean, that's a huge celebration. And we haven't seen this happen in forever where the championship winner did not win the race.
Yep. Yeah. But I remember when it was rare to see the championship winner win the race. You know, we just had a good run of the champion dominating the race. But there was a time where that was not the case, you know, and I don't mind seeing Ross Chastain win it because he is a former winner. It's not like he was a clown all year and just lucked his way into the win. You know, there's some respect on Ross's name. You know, he does very, very well racing with respect. At the end of the day, he dominated. I mean, he took that race from them, and those were very fast cars that he was racing with the championship for. But there's a lot of skill to racing hard and racing with respect and pride. Yeah, he might have raced him aggressively, but didn't wreck anyone. And
I think that was actually impressive because I think maybe people might have still expected the old Ross Chastain where maybe he would have made a hasty decision. But I mean, he was out front and he knew better. And typically I think he does always know better. Well, he's been better since Nashville too.
He gave you the old Ross Chastain with being aggressive, right? So he raced him hard and clean, very aggressive. And people still have to remember, like, you know, just because the championship 4, you still have other cars out there that could win it. And, you know, they're going to run hard too to win those races, even though they're not racing for the championship. And I think that kind of gets lost in the shuffle when we talk about championship weekend. You know, so those guys are racing for points too to go into the offseason with momentum.
Yep, sure are. And the offseason momentum is so important because it is an offseason that starts right now. You know, you might not agree with me, but I'm the type of dude, you know, there is no offseason. You're never good enough. And this is the time where you start prepping. And this is what separates the ones who are going to be starting next year on these crews, who are going to be in consideration for these crew chiefs positions right now. So while you're partying in the Bahamas with your wives and your kids, and you're getting all that R&R at the end of the day, there's some dogs out there who are thinking about 2024 and getting their mind right on how they're going to be the one hoisting up that trophy next year as opposed to the current champ.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a lot of mojo. That's a lot of good mojo. Ross Chastain and Trackhouse with all the good energy that they have going on. Their new signees, what they have SVP, and they got the young boy Zane Smith in that alliance with Spire, you know. So, and then they finished the year on winning the cup race. So, I mean, that looks good not only for them. What about the mechanics in the offseason who are getting all these cars ready? How good do you think it feels for them to go into the offseason, not touching on a race car, knowing that the last car that they touched was a winning race car? So, you know, that goes a long way, bodes a long way when it comes time to hiring new athletes, hiring new mechanics, restructuring, you know. So in the offseason, a lot of business deals, silly season is going on. It makes that team more appealing when you go out a winner, as well as you show that you got what it takes to win at the highest level in motorsport.
So speaking of silly season, is there anything interesting going on the pit crew side of things right now, since silly season kind of gets started off a little bit before the championship race?
Tons of it, CJ. You already know we're going to need episodes 2, 3, and 4 and we're going to have to give you a little bit at a time. You know, at the end of the day, the access and the information that we provide to you on Night Shifters is cutting edge. Nobody knows this stuff but us. So at the end of the day, we have to be meticulous with how we release it. But just know the dogs are working right now. And at the end of the day, there are alliances being made. There are positions being made. And at the end of the day, if you didn't win the championship this year, you were not good enough. So you need to figure out a way to make sure you're good enough. And that starts with making sure you have the right people aligned with that goal.
Yeah. Getting the good people beside you. Like you said, this is off season. Those guys that didn't win the championship or didn't win a race are looking in the mirror saying, what can I do different to make sure we are better when we get to LA in February?
It might start with the people you're surrounding yourself around. But long story short, that championship 4 team, you know, those guys, those mechanics, those athletes, those are the best in the world at doing what they're doing. And that's the reason why they're in the position that what they're in. We talk a good game about how these guys, and we're really meticulous on them. But at the end of the day, we respect them being in the position they're in. And for our new race fans who aren't familiar with this, you know, the Cup Series, that's as high as it gets in our series. You know, Xfinity Series, that'll be your college level. And the Truck Series, I like to think of that as your semi-pro, you know, almost high school, you know, leading up to it. So, you know, there's levels to this, as to say. And it's, you know, Crystal, Chris, and I have the privilege to experience some cool stuff happen in the top series on a weekly basis. And in the off season as it is now.
Yes, off season.
Well, Chris, you did say something that you were looking towards LA and having, you know, pit crews in LA. Pit crews actually don't end up going to LA, do they?
No pit crews in LA, but you do take your crew. So you still take your mechanics. Okay. You still take your crew chief, whether they're new or you keep your team together. Yep. So that's like your pregame. You know, that's like your opening season there. Give you a chance to see what you're made of. Make sure you work well together. Make sure your communication lines are good. So our race in LA, you know, it's
our pregame race.
Pregame race.
It's our pregame race. You know, we're going to talk about it for the people who know stick and ball. You know, because remember, we got these new race fans. You know, that clash is going to be our pregame race.
And that's one of my favorites because it's in my hometown. Even though it's not for points, I'm just glad to see all the drivers there. They're actually going to be bringing up the Mexico Series drivers as well, which I've never actually seen any of their races, but I hear that they're really, really fun.
LA, big city of dreams.
I know.
Yeah, it is.
I'm excited. So I'm sure I will have something to tell you guys in the actually, it might not be till next month. So we'll have to wait for that. But other than that, I think we've covered everything from championship weekend. Other than that, what are you guys going to end up doing over the off season? I know we'll probably try to do some work here, but are you finally getting some time with your family? Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yeah, you get the time with the family. For me, you know, you give back to the household. My position, I got to go back here in a couple days, week or two, get the pit boxes ready, get our practice carts ready, make sure the crew chiefs got what they need, make sure my race engineers are happy. And then we hit the ground rolling in January, you know. So, you know, it's all prep work.
My off season, it's going to be very, very, very busy. I'm excited. You know, Darrell Edwards is signed with Overdrive Entertainment Management Sports Agency. I started and created to represent athletes within our sport in the way they should be, you know, in a way that they can focus on being the best pit crew athlete in the world and not have to focus on anything else. So I'm excited about that. We're going to be doing a lot of work with Darrell Edwards and making sure we paint him the way he needs to be painted, because he's doing it. Even though he did not win the championship as a part of the number 20 crew, we're excited about the potential and everything that he has in the works with OEM and with his career. So off season is going to be busy for us.
Yeah, I think I just saw that he was going to be on I Am Athlete. Is that coming up?
We got a lot of good stuff to announce with Darrell. We got a lot of good stuff.
I don't know. I saw something today, or maybe it's old. I don't know. I just hit it up, like it was in my feed and I saw it. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yep, he's that guy. You know, it's a great time to be OEM athlete, and it all starts with Rel, you know. Good. So we're excited about the stuff that he has going on.
Good. All right. Well, the only thing I have to look forward to right now is next week's episode, I guess.
Yes. Actually, that's where Philly season a little bit, you know, it's going to start shaking up.
I know. I gotta say, we might be a little tied up for next week just because Formula One is here.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of my time is going to be committed to that,
Formula
at
what?
least from Wednesday
Formula
through
what?
Sunday. Formula One.
I ain't never heard of it.
Let me tell you, I don't think that this race is going to be geared towards race fans.
Is Lewis Hamilton still racing?
Yes, he's still there, baby.
Okay, that's my guy. As long as Lewis still racing, you know, as long as Lewis, I'm still.
I think this is more for like the larger corporations and investors and just having a really fun time and trying to show their sport off. But if you really want to come have some fun and truly be entertained, you know, NASCAR's where it's at.
Get her done.
That's it.
All right. I think that's it, guys.
Hey, thanks.
I hope
All right, Crystal, CJ.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Maybe we'll see you in 2 weeks, not one, because, like I said, that other form of racing is going on. Cut us out, Adam.